My name is Joseph Bourgault, and I'm running for the leadership of the Conservative Party of Canada. And this is a message for parents and students. Number one, I want to say regarding the COVID-19 situation over the past 2.5 years, I feel our rights, our God-given rights and our charter rights have been eroded. And assuming I would be elected leader of the Conservative Party and Prime Minister of the country, those mandates would be gone. That would be one of the first things that I would do as leader of the country. To parents and to students, over the past 20 to 30 years, we've seen reforms in our education system that are taking our education system in the wrong direction. I'm 100% for supporting parental rights, and I believe that a student's first and last teacher should be parents. And so it's important that our education system respects the rights of parents to teach things like sex education, especially at young ages. I do not want to see our education system infringing on parental rights to educate their children. And so as it relates to Bill C-4, for example, I'm 100% opposed to Bill C-4. And we would be reviewing that legislation and getting rid of it. Another important issue as it relates to parental rights, and in particular as it relates to women's sport and girls' sport, I'm 100% opposed to seeing that women and girls would have to compete with biologically born males that convert their sexuality. I think that's unfair competition, and I'm opposed to that. I want to see women and girls to be able to compete fairly amongst one another without this situation that we're seeing evolving where biologically born males are converting to females and then competing with women and girls. I'm 100% opposed to this. As it relates to education, whether it's in schools or in universities, this critical race theory, where somehow we've got reverse discrimination going on now. I grew up in a family where I was taught not to discriminate against anyone, regardless of skin color, race, culture, and so it worked. I've grown up all my adult life without any thoughts or any desire to discriminate against anyone. I own a company where we have all races and nationalities working in it, and one of the fundamental worker rights is no discrimination. So as far as teaching this critical race theory somehow that whites are inherently racist in some way and are privileged, I have not witnessed that in my life. So to be teaching young children a reverse discrimination, I'm 100% opposed to this. I'm hearing from parents as I'm attending events, I'm hearing from parents and school teachers their concerns with how young children under 10 are being given messages about their sexuality. And parents are strongly opposed to this to the point that many parents are pulling their children now from the schools and teaching their own children, educating their own children. I'm 100% opposed to any teachings in the schools under a young age, other than teaching teenagers in the age of 12, 13, 14, 15, teaching them prudent sex education to avoid promiscuity, to avoid teen pregnancies and that sort of thing. And teaching biology, the biology of sexual reproduction at the appropriate ages. Other than that, bringing sex education in under the age of 10, I'm completely opposed to this. As far as I know from my parents, when they went through the school system, and when I went through the school system, I grew up having to compete for marks, to do, not even really compete, like we all have to do the best we can to get the best marks we can in every class we're in. We compete in sports and that sort of thing, and I mean, it was fantastic growing up in an education system where we competed in sports and we competed in class to a degree. Our main competition, though, was to do better and better ourselves to get the best marks that we could so that we can get into post-secondary education or university. And so, watering down any efforts to paint everybody with the same brush, I think is counterproductive. I think healthy competition in class and in sports is a good thing, and that it should be merit-based, so that whatever your marks are, they're your marks. However you excel in sports, you excel. It's all got to be merit-based, and I think that was healthy, and I'd like to see us make sure that we're staying in this manner. One of the problems that I've been observing especially in our mainstream media, I hear the term woke culture, where we're trying to erase history, taking down statues and to rewrite history. If there was obvious inaccuracy in history, I could see correction. But the idea of destroying or erasing our culture and our history, I'm completely opposed to that. Our traditions and our culture and our history, both the good, the bad, and the ugly in our history, that all needs to be taught. We have to understand our history so that history doesn't repeat itself. If we've made mistakes in our history, we have to be aware of those errors and to make sure we don't repeat them again. That's the purpose of teaching history. So to whitewash or to erase history, to me, that makes no sense, and I don't support that. Running for the leadership of the Conservative Party with the hope of someday becoming the Prime Minister of Canada, in my policies, based on our core values and principles, I want to reform the tax system in this country, because what I've observed, the statistics show, since 1950, our birth rate was 27 per thousand population. Now we're down at 10 births per thousand population. Our country is not growing a labor force. It's very unhealthy what's happening in our country. And I believe at the root of it, what's not supporting the family in our country is the tax system that we have. The basic standard deduction per adult is $12,000 federally. And to me, that the true poverty line in this country, average, from my calculations doing budgets, is $50,000 would be the minimum true poverty line in this country. We don't tax a business before it's profitable. Why should we be taxing our citizens before they're profitable? To me, it's important that we also allow income splitting for married couples to support the family, to enable families to have children, and that we have a $20,000 deduction per child, so that a family of four, for example, could earn $140,000 before paying any income tax. In this way, parents could have children and could afford to raise healthy and happy children. And this is one of the most important ways that I can see that we can create a pro-life culture in Canada and grow our labor force internally, which is important to be able to grow our country. I've just talked about creating a pro-life culture in our country, and one of the reasons I explain this is because our labor force has been shrinking for decades now because of the tax policies that we have in our country. I'm 100% opposed to illegal immigration in our country. I'm for controlled immigration, but I want to see immigration at a pace and a rate, and I want to make sure we're vetting the people that are coming into our country to make sure that they agree with and align with our cultural values, with our core values and principles in this country. Our Charter of Rights and Freedoms begins, whereas Canada was founded upon the principles that recognize the supremacy of God and the rule of law. And our core values and principles are in the Charter. They're in the Canadian Bill of Rights. And we have the Canadian Criminal Code. And I want to make sure that we're honoring our history. And so I don't want to see immigration occur at a rate where our core values and principles as a country are erased. So you've heard the policies I've spoken of. I want to create a pro-life culture, and I want to create a healthy, happy, and prosperous country. And so if you support this vision for our country, please go to my website, josephbourgault.ca, where you can see how you can support me. God bless you, and God bless Canada. Thank you.